Hello and welcome to lesson 1 of week 20. This week we're going to introduce Flask and start creating our first Python project. Now Flask is the Python framework that provides configurations and conventions with defaults to get started on a Python project. Now we initially wanted to use Django, but for beginners it's not as lightweight and it doesn't give you as much control as Flask will give you, and so we're going to practice all of our development using Flask. In week 8 of this course we installed Python. We looked at how to upgrade the version of pip, and if you have older version of Python older than Python 3.8, this is a time where you have to upgrade your Python version to be the most recent version of Python. Now Flask requires that you have Python 3.8 and above. Now the first step is for us to open our command line tool, whatever you use. I'm going to be using Visual Studio. Okay, now I want to open my terminal. You can use a bash shell in your terminal outside of Visual Studio, but Visual Studio Code makes it unified for all of us to be able to follow in exactly the same thing. Now I want to change directory to be back at the root, and the root for me is my desktop. I want to create a new folder in my desktop. I want to create a folder called First Project, and what I will do is to use make directory like this, First Project. After creating this on my desktop, I want to change directory into this, so I'll do cd First Project. Now I'm in my First Project directory. I want to create a virtual environment. Now to create a virtual environment, it's a little bit different for Mac, Linux and Windows users. And so for Mac users, you can use Python 3 and then -m venv and then the name of your virtual environment. I like to use the same name .venv. I always like to use this. Since the virtual environments are independent of projects and they're always going to be in the project directory, we can always use one name for our virtual environments to make sure that we know. But I'm letting you know that it can be any name, but by convention people usually do it like this. If Python 3 doesn't work, use Python. If it doesn't work, use Py 3. If it doesn't work, use Py or Py with the flag -3. So try that for your operating system. It will be difficult for me to know what will work in advance for your system. And so when I do this, it creates a virtual environment in my first project folder that I have created on the desktop. You can create your folder on any directory. Just make sure you are in that directory and you are making your project in that directory, and then you are creating a virtual environment in the directory that you created for your project. And if you do list with the AL flag, and the reason we use AL flag is because we have a dot in front of the name of the virtual environment, and so it will not be displayed by default, except we use .al to reveal all of the hidden files which are here, so .env. So now I have my virtual environment created. And what is a virtual environment? We use virtual environment for each project, and because we have started developing projects, we will start developing multiple projects at once, and we do not want dependencies from one project to affect the next project, and the library versions and everything will be different across projects, and so we want to manage them as an independent unit using virtual environment for each project. And so before we start any installation whatsoever, we want to do our installation in the virtual environment for the project. And what we want to install here is Flask, so we need to activate this environment that we have created. If you are a Windows users, .venv/script/activate. If you are a Mac or Linux users, .venv/bin/activate. You might get permission denied if you do it like this on Mac or Linux, and let's see that we have permission denied. What you do to avoid this is to put a dot before you start .venv/bin/activate, and this time you should have it activated. Once activated, we have the name of our virtual environment displayed in front there, so that's how you know it's activated already. Now we are in our virtual environment, we can start installing things. We want to install Flask. We'll do pip install, so we should have Flask installed now here. So Flask is installed along with several dependencies, so refer to your course resource to see the dependencies and the definitions and what each of the dependencies is used for when we develop our project. So we have this installed. It's telling us that we can upgrade our pip version. I can follow that message and just do pip install upgrade, and this is going to upgrade the version of pip that I have. So let us create our first Flask application, and what we do is to first of all add that folder for our project, which is the first project folder that I created, and I want to add folder to workspace, and I want to add it from my desktop. The name is first project, and I add it here. And so for this, I want to create a new file in this first project folder, and I want the file name to be index. Now index does not have an extension, it has to be a Python project, and so I'm going to rename it to index.py. So remember your file extension. So now this is a Python project, and I want to create my first web app with Flask, and I want to be able to run a development server. The first thing I want to do is to remember my classes. And recall that when we did classes, we talked about how we create an instance of a class. We talked about, also we looked at how to use decorators also, so it will come in handy at this point. So for me to import Flask, I will use from Flask, import Flask. Now take note of the capitalizations. We are creating a basic app, so we are not going to import several stuff. We're just going to get started to see how this works. We want to create an instance of the class. It's going to be app is equal to the Flask that we just imported and name. Why we use name is that we want Flask to know where to look for the resources, and we are going to look at that in detail also as we go deeper. The next thing we want to do is to use a route decorator. So it's going to be app.route, and then we want it to say when we are at the index page, we want to run a function, and the function name is defindex. And what we want to return is, let's say, hello world. So this is a basic web app for Flask. This is going to render hello world to the index page. So how do we start up our development server to make sure we run a server to be able to create a web page with this? We come to our terminal here, and we're going to type in a command, Flask app, the name of the file which is index, and we want to run that file. Run. This will create a development server with, on a particular port, it is going to give us the address to open that port. And look at the address here. So this is the address of our server. You can copy it and go to your browser and paste it, or you can just click on it to open a new browser window for you. And it has opened the browser window, and we have hello world printed. Now this is not formatted. This is a basic Flask app. This is not going to be the professional final way we're going to be creating. We can also use HTML code here by saying I want this to be a heading, and I'll put HTML tag in quotes here and close H1. So this will make this a heading, and so when I stop this and I run it again, I'm going to have that when I refresh my page. Hello world has a heading on the page. When you are done and you want to close, you can always Ctrl+C to stop running the server, and you can just simply type deactivate to come out of the virtual environment. And this is where we end this lesson. In the next lesson, we're going to look at routing in details. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.